The show focused on delivering beneficial information on everything to do with products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Welcome back to Key Pacific's Talk About Strata. Tony Giventu, Executive Director of the Condominium Homeowners Association of British Columbia, is in studio. I'm Sterling Fox. We're talking on this program about property managers and how to hire a property manager and what exactly do these people do. And clearly, it's in terms of a strata council responsible for the upkeep of the building, it's their most important decision, hiring the right management company who in turn, hopefully, have the right people to take care of the job, and it's getting value for your money, Tony. I had a chat recently with a former president of a strata council here in Vancouver, and she told me that her biggest challenge as the president of the strata council was being reliant on the opinions of contractors. I mean, she's not a housing or building expert. She doesn't know plumbing and all the rest of it. So when something goes wrong, I don't imagine, it doesn't sound like they had much of a property management thing going on in her fairly small strata of 18 units.
Right.
So she said, you know, if something goes wrong, obviously you got to get a quote or two or three. But how do you know as a non-professional in that trade whether the numbers are anywhere near what they should be, or you're just getting completely fleeced? You don't know these things, and you have to rely on third-party opinions. Now, if a property manager is involved in a strata, that person is more likely to know some of those details about why things cost as much as they're said to than the president of the strata council, who may have never fixed anything in his or her life.
Well, you'd hope that's what you're paying for, some of that expertise to be able to help you with that. But if you have that level of expertise, what you're going to find is that you're going to be able to differ these into two types of contracts when you need a contractor. Contract A is going to be a small one-off item that you can get 2 or 3 quotes casually, get it in writing, have an understanding what the cost is going to be, get the work done, be relatively comfortable with what you're doing.
Okay.
The other type of contract, though, are going to be things that are technically more demanding, things that involve major construction, replacement of major components. You don't just get quotes. That's one of the challenges for consumers, is that we lose our ability to protect ourselves when we don't have constant information.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I always, for major construction, I always recommend a competitive process for any type of major construction. You hire an independent person to set the specifications of the work, so you know what you're going to get, how it should be done, and a time frame with some estimates of what those costs are going to look like.
And this would be an individual apart from your property manager?
Apart from the property manager, apart from your general contractor.
Third party.
It's like replacing a roof. You hire an independent roofing inspector.
Right.
A licensed inspector who can do the inspection on the roof. They're going to specify the replacement of the roof in a comparable like-as-like roofing system.
Right.
Consult with council if you want any kind of upgrades. You take those specifications with everything else that the strata wants to be added onto it. When the work's going to be done, special conditions on the project payment schedules. You take all of those conditions and you go out to the industry and you get the industry to bid on it. Everybody's bidding on exactly the same thing.
Right.
So you know when you get the bids back that all the conditions of things like warranty and bonds and all of those things, all the things that you've been asking for your protection, everybody's bidding on exactly the same thing.
Right.
That's how you know you're getting a fair price. Or at least you now know that the prices that you have are based on a competitive process in the industry that's going to be able to estimate something reasonable.
And then the Strata Council gets, based on a full airing of the facts and the evidence, then they make an informed decision. Is the gathering of all of that, even though ultimately it ends up in the decision maker's laps, the Strata Council, but is that gathering process part of what a good property manager should be able to do for you?
The property manager can do an enormous amount of work, so that when it comes right down to it, the Strata Council simply has to look at the bids and make a decision.
Okay, so that's...
So all the groundwork is done by the property manager.
Okay.
But you have to go back to the service agreement, the contract with the strata management company. Did you actually agree to contract them so that they will actually be performing this kind of work? Will they be actually working with independent inspectors? And will they actually be involved in the tendering process that goes out there to be able to bring you this information? You have to be careful that your contract isn't one of these generic things that says, at the direction of council, we will do the following.
Right.
And because they can, but what you may find is, at the direction of council, links to the fees at the end that says, in addition to this amount a month, for the following projects, we will charge so much per hour or a percentage of the project to be able to cover the additional administration costs, right? And so, you need to clearly specify what you're doing. The more detail you have in the contract and understand the relationship in the contract, the better it is for everyone. There are strata corporations that we work with who have contract relationships with the same company for 20 years.
Right.
That's an indication that there is a clear understanding on the roles and responsibilities. There's a clear understanding on what's delivered, what we're paying you. There's reasonable compensation between the parties, and there's good service. Right? It's working both ways. It's interesting because you find that it's also easier to get people on strata council when there's been a long-term relationship because things are moving well. It's not as demanding. It's not as controversial.
There's a successful relationship between the strata council and the property management company. It's very harmonious.
And there's a corporate history of all the information.
Right.
When you're looking at a management contract, you kind of break it out into a number of areas. Accounting is always the big thing.
Sure.
Right? That's because the finances of the strata corporation are a lot of work and they're significant. So it's managing all the bank accounts, managing all of the collections of strata fees.
And these are all legal requirements, too. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this stuff, is there?
This is all within the requirements of the bylaws of the corporation and within the Act, and also as required by the Real Estate Services Act. Managing separate accounts. They're not pooled trust funds. These are separate bank accounts for the strata corporations.
Okay.
Managing the payables, the monthly payables, to make sure that things are paid on time and there are no penalties. Investments. Strata corporations have long-term investments. What options does the Strata Council have to invest the money to gain interest over the long term, which is non-taxable? It's a benefit. Financial planning. We start talk about budget planning. You brought up the question earlier. What's the right price for strata fees, or what's the right threshold?
Yeah, I was looking for some kind of guideline.
You could be in a 16-unit townhouse where everybody has their own hot water and everybody has their own central heating. And so really what we're down to are insurance and maintenance issues more than anything. And the strata corporation could be in a $300 window for strata fees or $200 window where they're actually managing well and they have a long-term plan. The difficulty is the first question that whether you're a buyer or you live in a strata is, do we have a plan? Do we actually know how we budget each year? Strata councils frequently at their annual budget will have a line item that says maintenance and repairs.
Right.
Well, if it's maintenance and repairs and it says $100,000, it's essentially just a blank check for council to spend randomly $100,000 through the year as things arise. And that may be appropriate. The council might need some sort of contingency built into the budget so they have that discretion. But it works so much better when you have an itemized list of all of those issues that have to be maintained annually. Then you can place a value to them, and then that value helps you to build your budget each year.
And now, with the new requirements under the Strata Act for every council in the province to have one of these depreciation reports, which is a snapshot of what it looks like today and a roadmap to how to keep it looking like it looks like today. This is an invaluable tool for certainly shoppers and potential owners in condos, but also it allows the Strata Council to develop, maybe if they were a little weak on the budgeting and the fleshing out of the budget so that every resident has a full understanding of where all the dough goes. This depreciation report requirement may cause expanded and better bookkeeping, right?
Well, and one of the secondary benefits, which I think is actually a bigger benefit than the long term in some ways, is that the Strata Corporation for the first time now has an itemized inventory of all the building components that have to be replaced in the future. Well, just take that and transport that into your annual budget, because most of these items probably need some sort of frequent inspection and maintenance as well.
Right.
And that helps you to start planning what your maintenance and repair budget is going to start looking like. Your property manager can play a valuable role in that. All of the accounting accounting things around monthly and annual financial reports and budget planning, helping you plan your annual budget and your long-term financial planning. Those are key areas where your manager should be able to sit down with you and start planning some of those tasks for you, because that makes a big difference.
Because a lot of people would, listening are going, wait a second, property managers do that? I thought they were the guys that cut the grass and, swept the parking lots on the front sidewalk.
That's the resident caretaker. That's a different person entirely, right?
Okay.
And that's one of the challenges for people who've lived in apartments. They go into a condo, and they bought a condo, and they still have a little bit of apartment mentality sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. We don't have, for most buildings, don't have a resident caretaker. Some buildings are very fortunate. They'll have resident caretakers, resident custodial staff, janitorial staff. They might have a concierge at the front desk to meet contractors and help them through that. But a lot of strata corporations don't have those on-site services. So, you're either contracting them out to somebody else, or you find that you have people within the strata corporation who are actually working and doing that job.
Ah, okay. But again, though, in terms of the property management company, I think I'm looking for an information source to not only for the Strata Council, because they're duty bound to be well informed in order to do their jobs, but just for a typical condo owner in that complex. Can the property manager be a source of good information for any resident beyond just the Strata Council? Sure,
and they can be the direct contact. Frequently, the property manager or the property management company are the first point of contact.
Okay, right.
Because they're opened 5 days a week, but they have emergency call numbers after hours for fire, flood, all those things that occur within a building that people need emergency response for. But the strata manager will certainly be there to receive the information. They're certainly there to help make sure that it gets disseminated to council, and they might be able to frequently point people in the right direction as to what they need to take their next steps on.
And we talked earlier about this, and you talked about the checklist on the choa.bc.ca Homeowners Association website. We're, again, trying to educate not only residents, but particularly in this portion of the show, strata councils themselves, on the best ways to hire the best possible people.
Absolutely. Well, and take the depreciation report. The depreciation report gave us a checklist of all those things in the future when they're likely to be renewed.
Yep.
Take that list, and it now gives us an annual inventory of all those things that need to be frequently maintained and inspected. Well, if you've hired a management company, ask yourself the next question. How are they going to be maintained and inspected, and who's going to do it? Because if you're hiring somebody to do it, you're going to be paying for their time to be managing the administration of all those components.
What's the difference between a brokerage and a property management firm, or are they essentially the same thing?
They're the same thing. They're essentially the same thing.
Would manage more than multiple properties then?
Many of the large brokerages who have multiple strata managers working for the company, there are several of them who literally manage hundreds of properties.
Oh, okay.
Right, and everything from 50, 100 units up, and you start looking at the number of high-rises we have around the Lower Mainland, right?
Yeah.
Start counting apartment buildings and high-rises and townhouse complexes that are 25 units plus. It starts to add up. We have pretty much 27,000 strata corporations in the province. That's just strata corporations. And you sweep, the duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes out of that. And you start getting into buildings that are going to be looking for strata management. Mm-hmm. You're probably looking at some 16 to 20,000 buildings where they're looking for management services. And that's it. And in not all parts of the province do we have strata managers. That's another challenge, of course.
Of course. And of course, then they're not all equally competent. So again, word of mouth helps. Is there on the CHOA, we got to take a break here, but on the choa.bc.ca website, are there testimonial opportunities for people who have had experiences, negative and positive, who get to report on some of their interactions with these property managers?
The association has never done that because it's very difficult to qualify whether the claims are or are not credible. Right?
Yeah, right.
And unless you have a vetting process where if a claim is made and if it's a negative claim, someone has the ability to challenge it and to be able to protect their reputation. Unless you have a vetting process, it becomes very difficult to understand whether the information is credible or not.
Right. I could turn into a soapbox pretty easily.
But that being said, you can certainly look at the Better Business Bureau for complaints.
Absolutely.
And you can also look at the Real Estate Council website to see if there's been any disciplinary action against the Strata Management Company. And their website's recbc.ca.
All right. And his, as in the Condominium Homeowners Association of BC, is CHOA, CHOA.bc.ca. Quick break here, and we're back with lots more on Key Pacific's Talk About Strata.
There's still more ahead with Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.